Today is Wednesday, May 13th, 2026, and today is National Apple Pie Day, which makes total sense because it's one of the 3 best pies known to mankind. Welcome to Wait That's Random, This Day in History. I'm your host, C.L. Burns, voice actor, audiobook narrator, and your guide through the odd and unexpected corners of history. Let's dive in. On May 13, 1846, the United States officially declared war on Mexico. The situation had been building before that. Tensions over territory, border disputes, conflicting claims. But this marked the point where it became formal, structured, recognized as war. And that shift matters, because once something is defined at that level, the scale changes. Resources move, strategies adjust, and the outcome becomes tied to something larger than the original conflict. The war itself would go on to reshape territory across North America, but in the moment, it began with uncertainty, different perspectives, and competing narratives about what had really happened. Sometimes the beginning of something large doesn't feel large at all until everything around it starts to expand. And sometimes something starts small and grows into something global. Today in 1950, the first Formula One World Championship race took place. At the time, it wasn't yet the global sport it would become. It was an organized competition, drivers from different countries, structured rules, a defined championship format. But what matters here is what came next. Because once the structure exists, it can grow. More races, more teams, more attention. And over time, it became something larger than the individual events. What started as a single race became a global system, recognized across countries, watched worldwide. Sometimes the defining moment isn't the peak. It's the point where something becomes repeatable. And sometimes something works better, but still doesn't catch on right away. On May 13, 1939, FM radio broadcasting was beginning to take shape. And technically, it was better. Clearer sound, less static, more consistent signal quality. Compared to AM radio, it had advantages. But it didn't replace what came before. Adaption was slow. Infrastructure needed to change. Receivers had to be updated. And people were already used to what they had. That's where this gets interesting, because even when something improves, it doesn't always take over right away. Sometimes familiarity outweighs quality, at least for a while. Over time, FM would become the standard for music and higher fidelity audio. But in the beginning, it struggled. Sometimes being better isn't enough. It also has to be adopted. And sometimes what carries forward isn't a system, it's a body of work. Harvey Keitel was born on May 13, 1939. He became known for roles in films like Mean Streets, Taxi Driver, Pulp Fiction, and Reservoir Dogs. Early in his career, he worked closely with director Martin Scorsese, often playing characters dealing with internal conflict and moral tension. Later, his collaborations with Quentin Tarantino continued that pattern. Roles that felt controlled on the surface but carried intensity underneath. What stands out isn't just the variety of films, it's the consistency in how those characters are presented. Grounded, direct, without unnecessary emphasis. Even in more stylized films, his performances tend to stay anchored in something real. And that gave him a career that carried across decades in different types of storytelling. Sometimes what defines someone isn't just range. It's how clearly a certain kind of presence comes through over time. At first, these don't seem connected, but they start to line up. A conflict expands beyond its starting point. A system grows into something global. And an improvement takes time to be accepted. Different situations, but each one shows how change doesn't always happen immediately. Anyway, that's what came together while working through May 13th. Stop by tomorrow and we'll see what the next day has in store. If you'd like to hear more of my work or explore the books and projects I've been a part of, you can find it all at waitthat'srandom.com. I'm C.L. Burns, and I appreciate you stopping by. I'll see you tomorrow.